Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome. Oh, just a man, Ryan. Do I sound good? You're the audio guy now, because I keep forgetting to turn my mic on. Do I sound good today? We got Jennifer, we got Eddie, HVAC blogger, Steve-O in the house. Everybody's here, nice and early. Jason, Brian. I don't know if I said him already. Love it. Everybody's already here. And today I am I'm going to be looking over at the chat a little more than usual, making sure we're not getting off the rails here. I think you have everybody monitoring the chat now because even Chris was already on top of it. So welcome to the Reliable HVACR live stream podcast. If you can't stay for the whole show, you already know you can listen on the go wherever you stream your podcast. Now, today we have a special guest. We have JD Kelly, also known as Student of HVAC, and I'm going to bring him on already. How's it going, man?
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How's the weather out there?
Hot and humid. Looks like it's about to storm, and hope the internet stays in there.
Oh, really? We have I think a lot of people are getting like a heat wave. We hit, I think, 115 today, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's in the late 80s, early 90s, but it's humid as can be.
The humidity is what kills us. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So for those that don't know, like I said, this is JD Kelly, also known as Student of HVAC. I really love the diagrams, all the stuff you've been posting on social media. So that's going to be TikTok, Instagram. I believe you're on YouTube as well, right?
I've tried YouTube a little bit,
I
can't, the stuff that I'm doing is I think a little too short for YouTube, so it's not translating well. Maybe one day
if you can keep it under 60 seconds, it works for their YouTube shorts.
Right.
And if it's vertical, like how you post on Instagram and all that. And that's the thing, like some channels are just shorts. They're trying to compete with TikTok. So I would highly recommend, doing that, or either doing, I don't know. Do they usually stay under 60 seconds, or how long do they run?
Yeah. I mean, they're trying,
super quick, right?
Yeah. I'm trying to keep them as short as can be. And I just, guess I got to figure out the niche for YouTube. I think TikTok is kind of where I really found my home with it, just because of the brevity of them. They're quick and to the point, you know what I mean, and simple as can be.
Yeah, I think that's where I found you, and I had seen them, the drawings, and I'm like, what is this? Like, it was, still new to me. I don't think you had, or I think you had just started, right?
Right.
And then I was like, okay, cool, whatever. I didn't think anything of it, honestly. And then like more popped up on my feed, and I was like, well, these are really interesting, and actually I liked watching them. The little they're kind of like animation diagram drawings, and you've kind of got a little following there on TikTok, and people are starting to like them.
Yeah, I'm just I hope. Well, it is what it is, but I'm getting close to 10,000.
Yeah, that's a good number. Yeah, you're doing great. So for those that don't know you, can you just give us a quick introduction of who you are and what you actually do for a living and how you're getting into HVAC?
Yeah, what it is I'm going on retiring right now. I've been in the field of corrections now for about 10 years. I'm actually a jail warden. I've got a bachelor's degree in criminal justice and legal studies from Troy University. I feel like I've just put my time in there and I'm ready to move on to something else. It's a really high stress, kind of under-respected job that I've been doing, and I'm kind of looking for something else. I think one of the big things about corrections that have kind of pushed me away from it is there's no sense of job completion. I mean, you never get that feeling that you've completed something, because it's, I don't want to talk about, that too much, but, it's the same people over and over and over again. And I'm kind of looking for something to move forward and something to where you get back what you put in. I mean, if you're running 100%, you can get that back, to where with corrections, that world there, you're kind of, it is what it is. I mean, it's high stress. It's actually hard work most of the time. And I kind of used a lot of the experience that I got from being around attorneys so much. I learned from them, you always hear that they're practicing law. They never say they're finished with learning. And that's kind of how I'm looking at the HVAC thing is I'm going to constantly be in a state of practicing it and learning, as I go. And that's kind of what I've been using the illustrations and stuff for. It's actually a part of my learning strategy, and it's a tool that I use. I'll get things like somebody gave me this train evaporator unit behind me there, and I like to follow the wires through it and put it on my training board and then draw a diagram in it. And I found that by actually drawing it out and labeling everything, it helps me kind of retain the information.
And how did you stumble upon HVAC in particular?
Honestly, I'm that guy that back in when I'm getting out of high school, my dad was a mason, not a mason, but a masonry, person, poured concrete and stuff like that. It was pushing me to get into the trades, and I decided to do the college thing. And now I'm looking at, I should have gotten into the trades. So now I'm getting into the trades. And to be honest with you, I was going through a couple of different options and everything, and looking at different things and messing with my own air conditioner, and started watching YouTube videos, especially Ty Brannaman. And he kind of really, his positivity that he always has with it, I really started watching his videos, and then found out that the local college here was offering degrees in it. So part of continuing education, I kind of jumped into that, and it's kind of flourished since then.
Oh, that's awesome, man. And you bring up Ty Brenneman. I always bring him up. I love his videos, the way he teaches.
Right.
I feel like it's contagious, right? He's always high energy, in a good
Yeah.
mood, super positive. So, and that's what's really
Yeah.
cool about the whole thing. Like if you're, like you said, you're going on YouTube, you can actually find really good content
Right.
from Ty, from Craig, AC Service Tech, Brian Orr, and then like people that do service videos like Chris Stevens, and
Mm-hmm.
the list goes on and on. I've had my share of people that I looked up to, and that kind of like remotivated me, I guess,
Right.
because when I started, I was just trying to get a paycheck and this and that. So like I don't know, like seeing all these guys online, it kind of motivated me too. Um, Seeing the different things like Jason Johnson, who's in the chat right now, people that do other things like chillers and stuff that I don't work on.
Right.
I love that content. I love that more people are doing content.
Mm-hmm.
And just like yourself, if you're doing these diagrams and drawings, they're for you to learn yourself, but they're actually helping other people as well. So,
Yeah. And
share the knowledge, right?
right. Well, and that's what I found out too, that has really been helping me, because I'm so late to the game that there's so much information that I have to absorb. But what I've discovered is, when you create something like that, before you put it on TikTok or Instagram, you kind of got to make sure it's close to being right, or they're going to blast you. You know what I mean? So it really puts you in the zone to focus on, am I getting this
Yeah,
right? Are these
and that
wires connected correctly?
and that's
Um,
what I've told people is that like it also helps me. It helps keep me in check that I'm posting
right,
online and
right,
making sure that I did it the way it was supposed to be done, or double check, triple check things,
right.
and it helps us too that are posting.
Yeah. Well, I had posted one that I was actually proud of. I had to repost. I know you're not supposed to take them down, but I did a condensing temperature over ambient one, and
Oh yeah.
messed up the addition. But what was funny about it is that night, I woke up and man, there was like over 5,000 views and a bunch of likes on it and everything. And one guy jumped on there and said, man, I think you got a liquid line restriction. I started looking at it. I'm like, man, I messed up the math. So all the numbers were wrong. So I had to take it down and, redo it and repost it. And I know you're not supposed to do that, but like I said, I'm not really doing so much how-to videos, but sharing what I learned on my journey. And if people can help or come with me on it, you know what I mean?
Sure.
They can jump in and say, hey, I'm getting this or getting that, or this guy can say, man, you're way off or whatever. And when you see that comment that you're way off and you really start looking at it, sometimes I found that they were wrong, but
Yeah.
it really drives that information, into your head. And hopefully we'll be able to recall it one day when, hit the streets.
No, that's good stuff right there. We got Brian in the chat. Corrections suck. He did it for 2 years.
Yeah, it's different, man. I'm thankful that I did it because I've learned so much from it as far as leadership, and dealing with people. But it's just time to move on. I mean, the constant stress. I mean, I've got my other work phone here at any given time. I mean, if they called and said, hey, there's some stuff going down at the jail, I got to leave. I mean, that's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Okay.
I do not wear Crocs. So I've been known to wear flip-flops here and there.
They couldn't wait to get the Croc question out there. I don't know if you're aware of the whole Croc situation.
I do not.
They've been asking everybody if they wear Crocs and what color.
I haven't tried them yet. I've been thinking about it, but I got some flip-flops that I usually lose pretty quick, but no Crocs.
Yeah, like Jason says, if you haven't made a mistake, do you even HVAC?
Right.
Because we're constantly learning, right? And
Right.
I'm going through something right now where I've never seen. I just saw or stumbled upon a variable speed compressor.
Mm-hmm.
They installed it in 2019. Everything's acting up on this unit. And I'm out there and I'm like, okay, now we have a VFD supplying power to our compressor. I got to figure this out on the fly, look up a manual, look up a schematic. And we're constantly learning. And this is a field where you are going to have to continue learning and then learn this stuff on the go, right?
Yeah.
Things change all the time. I'm getting into all the digital boards and all this stuff that I never used to see, and it's constantly changing. I had Brett Wetzel on last week, and we talked about like the refrigerants, the CO2s, everything that's changing, and it's just stuff that we have to keep up with.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see. I got a lot of fans of yours in the chat. Brett here, big fan of your wiring schematics.
Hey,
he said Crocs, but you don't wear Crocs.
Yeah.
Let's see. So then, how long have you been, or what are you doing to get into HVAC? So you said you're going to retire, and you're looking to, you're pretty ambitious about it. You want to get into HVAC. You want to be a contractor, and you want to get the most out of it. I'm assuming.
Right. Yeah. So I'm just about to finish up my degree with the trade school that's here in Alabama.
Is that a college or like a whole 2-year program?
Yeah, it's a whole 2-year program. Luckily, since I already have my other degree, I didn't have to take any of the core classes. I had just had to do the HVAC classes. And it's going pretty good. Actually, the teacher I've got, I see a lot of stuff about trade schools, some negative, some positive, but
yeah,
I kind of, after having worked where I've worked and dealt with tons of employees and the MA stuff, whatever, I kind of see where the teachers are kind of coming from sometimes, because they're dealing with a lot of students in there that are kind of probably just there to get their Pell Grant and have never held a screwdriver, and then they're trying to deal with them. But this teacher that I've got here, I really like his teaching style because he is really for the hands-on stuff. I mean, all the different units that we've got in the classroom, if you exhibit that responsibility to it, he will absolutely let you go and take that thing apart, put it back together. He'll put bugs in it that you have to find and figure out. I mean, and we've got a wide range from the new technology all the way to the old stuff. I mean, and I really like getting in there and unwiring it and wiring it back, and that hands-on stuff is really what works for me.
So they do a lot of stuff where you get to actually work on. I'm assuming it's like training. Is it training boards and like actual units that you're working on in school?
Yeah, man, we don't. I mean, not even training board. I mean, we got actual units in there. I mean,
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
yeah, split units. He let me put together a and this shows my rookie here, but I was putting together one of those Mitsubishi inverters, kind of like the mini split looking guys, where it had the inside would look like a traditional evaporator, unit, and then it has also the multi heads, and it had that little, well, it had two. It had the splitters on the liquid line and the suction line, for the gas to flow through and everything. And it was interesting, brazing all that stuff together and figuring it out how to address the different head units and stuff like that, because it was totally different than the regular thermostat wiring.
Sure. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. That's what I loved about the one I went to, because I also did the college route. It was a
Mm-hmm.
2 year program. I think I was going for electrical engineer, so that's where I took care of my core classes. And then once I was going to start those, classes, I decided to switch over to HVAC, and uh, that was the best part, right? You get some of the book part of
Right.
it. You're in class, you're
Right.
getting to read all this stuff, but it really clicks when you get out into, like, we had training boards, we had actual walk-in boxes and things that we got to work on,
Mm-hmm.
and they'd be
Mm-hmm.
like, here, hook up the gauges, pump it down, weigh out the
Right.
refrigerant, weigh it back in, rewire. They pull everything out of the wiring harnesses and everything,
Yeah.
and then they'd be like, wired back up, figure it out. All that stuff helped.
Yeah, and what's good about it is you're not out there, because what I've noticed or heard a lot of, I guess, horror stories is people getting hired and they kind of like throw them to the wolves. So at least now I'm in a classroom smoke testing things rather than at somebody's house.
Yeah. We actually had in ours, we had what do you call it? It was like a little group. I can't remember what they're called now, but it was like if you wanted to be in it, it was like after school activity type thing.
Right.
And they had a group of us, and I didn't always go. I didn't stay. I think I did it for 1 year, uh, and like help around the city. We would sell plates,
Mm-hmm.
different little things for the school. But we would also go do some work, like charity work, but it was HVAC work. And I
Mm-hmm.
thought that was really cool, going and
Right.
kind of doing some duct work and doing some stuff here and there. So uh, for the guys that are looking into trade school, I would really recommend going and checking it out first
Right.
and take a tour. They gave us a tour beforehand to see, what the warehouse looks like, what kind of equipment they have at your disposal to learn this stuff. Because I mean, a lot of people would agree that it's more hands-on where you learn. It's the experience you get out in the field. So the more of that you can get in the class, the better. So
Mm-hmm.
I highly recommend that. It's not necessary. A lot of guys just get out in the field.
Right.
Um, and when I started, I wasn't going for this, right? I went into something else. I used to fix electronics and little things, but I wasn't somebody that, knew how to put in a HVAC system or take it apart or anything like that. So I used to help my dad on the weekends, because he does the hot side, right? The fryers,
Mm-hmm.
grills, and all that cooking equipment. And then he had a couple of guys, and one of them was his brother working for him. And I would be the helper, right? I would, ride along with one of them and be with them for the day and whatnot. And if I was with his brother or somebody else, they would report back to him at the end of the day, and he'd be like, "How did Adrian do?" Or "How was it today?" Or this and that. And then they would just be like, "He's a little slow. He's a little not mechanic. He's not too mechanically inclined, and this and that." And once I started hearing that, I got kind of upset, but not. I didn't like lash out or anything. And I was like, well, you know what? I'm going to be better next time. So that's kind of where that whole mentality of mine came from, be better every day, right? The next day you get better, the next call you
Right.
get better.
Right.
Be a little quicker, be a little more efficient. Take that experience that you get every day and just be better about it. And
Right.
that's what helped me a lot.
Right.
I didn't like to hear it, but it helped me.
Yeah, and I think that it's kind of probably going to be, I imagine it's kind of like anything. It's about getting those, repetitions in. And one of the things that I'm trying to do, well, I am doing, with the illustration stuff, so I'm trying to build myself a reference catalog with them. That way, something I can, quickly reference, because, the information is out there. I mean, between Ty Brannaman and Craig Migliaccio and some of the other guys, Brian Orr and all them, that the information is out there. But I've
There
run
is
into
no
situations.
excuse. Yeah, there's no
Yeah,
excuse.
but just doing like the few things that I've done, with my internship and stuff like that, and coming into the game so late like that, I'm trying to build such a a quick reference thing that I can pull up quickly, because you can't pull up a video out there on the scene and scroll through 6
Yeah.
minutes of looking for something. So my idea is just coming up with these quick reference cheat sheets that are colorful. You can follow them easy and swipe to the next one as you go, as you need it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, here's a tech tie. I attend the YouTube University, the famous YouTube University where everybody just, Googles it. There is a fine line there with the homeowners trying to
Right.
look up stuff.
Right.
So that's always like that fine line that I think about when I'm posting.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not gonna stop a homeowner from looking up, their own equipment.
Right. Right.
All right, let me look at the chat real quick because they tend to get out of hand. I don't know if you've been here for the chats or
Yeah. Yeah.
okay. What's up, Angel? HVAC boss in the house. My boss hat. I don't have a hat on today, man. Uh, where was this comment that I had seen? Oh, Angel, I'm here thinking about leaving HVAC to law enforcement. Hey, whatever's good for you and your situation.
You know
But
what's
go
interesting
ahead.
about that is, well, I guess I shouldn't say that. Okay, well, I'll say it like this. I've actually hired, well, I've had 2 people leave HVAC to get into the field of corrections in the last couple of months.
Hmm.
So, the grass is greener.
Yeah. It depends on on the situation, I guess. The only reason I would say to get into at least HVAC is we do a little bit of everything, right? You do a
Right.
little plumbing, you do a little electricity stuff, and refrigeration, and installing is another aspect of it. And you can get into way more avenues if you want to go sell equipment, you want to work in a parts house. I mean, you can really do whatever it is that you like to do in HVAC and never get bored, because I think that's the main reason that I like doing this. I'm a commercial refrigeration tech mostly, so I travel a lot. So half of my day is usually driving. I don't mind that. I like being in different cities and seeing different equipment, whether it's a freezer, ice machine, an ice cream machine, walk-ins. There's a variety of it, and that's what keeps me engaged. Because like if I had to be in the same um, like building every day, it would drive me
Mm-hmm.
nuts.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you what you guys got here too. What it seems like is every day you're should be feeling that sense of accomplishment. If you fix something, came to somebody's rescue because grandma's air conditioner wasn't working and she was hot, and I'm not complaining about it because it's perfect for some people, but I just wasn't. I am not getting that sense of accomplishment with what I'm doing, because it just seems like day in and day out it's kind of the same rigorous, stressful things over and over and over again. So I'm looking for these jobs, you know what I mean, that you can do, and at the end of the day, you're sitting there and that you have accomplished that thing.
Yeah, that's one of the big things being in this trade. HVAC guide. What part of Texas? South Texas. If you've ever heard of Rio Grande Valley, McAllen, Texas. I'm basically by the Mexico border. I'm at the very bottom because everybody always says South Texas is like San Antonio or something like that, and that's like to me that's mid Texas. But coming to Houston, where are you from? HVAC guide, Josh. Um, Oh, and then on your point of the accomplishment feeling and all that, I've talked to a bunch of guys, and that's always like the main thing of it is a rewarding feeling after the fact. If it's a residential guy, they'll say that there's a family that didn't have cooling or
Hmm.
heating, and we get these drastic weathers in certain places, and they really depend on that HVAC equipment.
Right.
If you can get them by, or if you can get that
Yep.
thing going the same day, you saved them a lot there, and you're the hero for the day
Right.
there.
Right.
And I get the same feeling when I'm fixing things because I'm a repair first person. I don't sell, I don't push things. I will give options if it's necessary, but I'll go in there and I'll try and fix it. Sometimes it's me chasing my tail. I got to balance that a little bit better, but for the most part, I try and go in there and fix, cooking, the kitchen refrigeration stuff,
Hmm.
ACs, because if the dining room is hot, customers are going to start walking out of these restaurants, and then that's a complaint that I get a lot of. And if you go in there and you fix this, there's no better feeling. You figured it
Right.
out. Especially those tough ones. I've had those long days where it's like this AC or this freezer I'm working on is like kicking my ass,
Right.
and then I finally figure it out, or I finally get everything done, and it's like no better feeling. And I've heard that a lot from the guys that I've talked to, and it's like a common thing that everybody loves.
Yeah.
And I also like the challenges, so I love seeing new stuff and figuring out new problems that we've come across as well.
Well, so what are you guys doing when you come across those completely foreign, units and stuff you've never seen or problems? I mean, what are the pros, accessing to solve those problems? Is it just something, trial and error every time, or is there, you know,
Well, like I think nowadays you have a lot of resources at your disposal, so I could research either ahead of time or as I get the call, maybe I have time to do a little research on something.
right?
But like you have all this YouTube, right? I watch a lot of YouTube now. I watch a lot of the AC service tech and HVAC school stuff just to make sure that I'm up to date, or I
Right.
have refreshers of proper procedures and stuff like that. But as far as like equipment, it's just a lot of like reading manuals,
Hmm.
reading the troubleshooting pages of those, making sure you're familiar with all the error codes. They do tend to give you like, if this is happening, look for this or
Right.
whatnot. But a lot of times it's trial and error. And I'm like, yesterday I had like I said, a compressor that was giving out on me, and it was a variable speed compressor. I've never seen one.
Hmm.
So I have the luxury of being able to call guys now. Like Brett, who's in the chat. Steve, I think, also was in here, everything HVACR. I can kind of call those guys and ask them, or bounce ideas off of them to see if they know what's going on. And that's another thing, is you don't want to be too proud, you know,
Right.
if you don't know something, because I've been there before where I'm
Hmm.
like, I don't want to call anybody, I don't want to ask for help, and it takes me longer, or I just don't figure it out. So
Right.
uh, I know tech support can kind of suck sometimes, being on hold with them. But if not tech support, find that's why we say it's important to network. Um, it's not only for, I mean, it helps your business if you know plumbers,
Hmm.
electricians, and other HVAC contractors, because I used to look at them as competitors, but in all actually, it actually is like a help, a resource for you, because they might work on equipment that you don't know too much about. So network is a big thing, whether it's in person for local companies or online. Like I said, I talked to Brett now. Steve was in here. I'm able to call those guys and ask for their opinion if I need to. And then I also just, my dad kind of implemented, the old school way of checking things is like if we have a short or we're looking for something that's popping the fuse or breaker or whatever. I've had that a lot actually. Obviously you want to inspect things, so take your time and inspect visually if you see anything out of the ordinary, and then just start. You can go elimination by process of elimination, right? You
Mhm.
can go in there and sometimes I'll disconnect the contactor to the compressor, to the blower motor, and then try and run it and see if it pops again. So there's like the old school way of doing it. There's new ways of doing it, but just don't be too prideful to ask for help,
Right.
and take your time, take a step back and kind of like go through the process. All the equipment, whether it's AC or refrigeration, is going to be the same. There's a refrigeration cycle and there's a compressor. There's rejecting, so you're rejecting heat somehow.
Right.
A condenser, a fan. I know we have water cooled stuff now, but uh, it's all this. It's all doing the same thing. You're trying to cool a conditioned space, reject heat outside, and then it's just a bunch of safeties and controls in between. And
Right.
you take your time and go down the line. That's how I at least look at it.
Right.
All right, what's up, Chris? HVACR videos. Brett is like your local helpful Honda guy, except it's refrigeration. That guy's smart. I've talked to him quite a bit recently, and it's always good to know. Um, what's that saying? Like, it's always good to be around smarter people, or I forget the saying of
Right.
it, but um, surround yourself with good people.
Right.
I'm gonna look at the chat real quick. I don't know if I'm pretty sure there's croc comments and a bunch of shenanigans in here. Oh, we got Efren in here. This is a Pure on Parole. He is part of that HVAC visionary group.
Mm-hmm.
What? Like Crocs, we love challenges. Okay, so with the Crocs. Oh, here's Chris. Never pressure my customers. I give them the facts. Let them decide which route they want to take. I actually really enjoy fixing versus replacing. That's where I'm at. I love repairing stuff.
Right.
It's kind of a bummer when they want to get new equipment, but sometimes they need it. Sometimes that equipment is like on its last leg, and you have no choice. But
What?
I'll go in there and I'll be like, I'll replace whatever you need, as long as it's you know in
What?
in
It
their
seems.
budget, I guess.
It seems like too. How do you guys walk that line? Because it seems like it's one of those deals too, to where you're out there and you're looking at this piece of equipment and you can fix it. They're telling you, hey, I just want to go cheap with it. Can you just limp me through? But in the back of your head, it's gonna fail. A month, 2 months, 3 months from now, and in the back of your head, you got to be thinking that this next person they call out there, they're gonna say, I don't know why they did that. They didn't fix it right, and they left junk, and then they're making a video, putting it on
Yeah.
YouTube that you did that. It's like I like that video they have of the condenser fan, and the person has it installed on the top of it, and everybody's blasting it, because it's wrong or whatever. But I'm sitting there like, man, they got them through the weekend though. Who
Hey,
knows? Who knows what that customer
sometimes
told them?
that's all it is. If I mean, I've done things here and there just to get them by over the weekend. Now, I don't. If you're bypassing, like I bypass pressure switches and stuff like that for the weekend, right?
Right.
As long as everything's working, in case those are faulty. Sometimes they're just faulty and they don't want to open back up or whatever, or close. So I've done that. Now, if you leave it like that and don't go back to it, that's when it's like a little like, oh, you didn't do what you were supposed to,
Right.
and you didn't actually fix the problem and this and that. So there's two ways about it.
Gotcha.
I've learned that I guess when I started, I was like, oh, why did they do this? Or I would bash them a little bit, and I had to think about it because then it started happening to me, right? Is like,
Right.
they're calling you after hours, they're calling you on the weekends in the middle of the night.
Right. And you don't
Because
have the parts, so you're just
yeah.
making it work.
So then you're like, okay, maybe they, you give them the benefit of the doubt now, and you're like, maybe they were in a rush, maybe they had to do this to get them by, and then because I've had customers where I get them by. Now I don't leave it like that, like especially like pressure switches where it can kill a
Right.
compressor
Right. Sure.
or anything like that. But sometimes like the VFD thing for the blower motor, um, that ramps up and whatever your blower motor, and it's supposed to be more efficient.
Hmm.
Those give out a lot, and we end up those are easy to bypass, right? And it's not doing any harm. It's just not as efficient as it was before. A lot of customers on things like that where it's like a extra safety and extra um, more efficient type of deal, they might not want to pay for it. So then I've had to explain that to people like, oh, I didn't go back to replace this, or they didn't want to upgrade or something, because
Right.
I'm not doing work for free either.
Right.
So as long as the system is working and we're not, sabotaging it to where it's, like I said, the first thing that comes to mind is like a high pressure control. That's a safety, right? If the compressor gets too hot or anything like that, because of condenser fan could give out or a coil could be plugged up. That safety is for that to cut it out. Something like that, you're sabotaging it if you leave it like that, because
Right.
eventually that compressor will die and
Right.
go bad because it's just going to keep trying to run. So, yeah, I've had to explain to people because it's happened to me. Like I'm like, I either get them by for the weekend or something like that, where it's like an efficient thing, like on the blower motor. It'll run fine if I just give it direct power off a contactor, but the customer, if they're not paying me, I'm not gonna go and like put things in for free or do stuff for free. So there's
Hmm.
always like two sides of the story, I guess.
Right. Right.
And
Right.
you gotta roll with the punches when you get out there and think on your feet.
Right.
Efren, how do I get okay? Efren, I appreciate the super chat, man. What is everyone's 5-year goals? What is the most interesting and intimidating part of HVAC in your opinion?
Interesting is definitely the variety that I've noticed from one unit to the next, and that I'm assuming, that probably just about every unit you go out to is going to be a different adventure with it, depending on the way it's set up or the problems that you're facing with it. The intimidating part for me is going to be making the transition, because I'm not in a situation to where um, I have to do this or I don't eat. I'm actually taking the chance of losing, you know what I mean? Because I've got a pretty good job now, but I'm wanting to make that transition. So it's really intimidating to me and important that I make the best use of every chance I get to study, or every conversation I have, with you guys, or everything that I post and comment that I get. I have to make the best of that and take it serious, because I don't have all that time. I'm starting over right now. I mean, I don't have all
Mhm.
that time to really make those mistakes. You know what I mean? Because as I transition off of the career that I'm doing right now, I got to be, I'm thinking, is this the right thing? And I always get to thinking, and I was going to ask this too, is this one of those deals to where when you buy a new car, you start seeing everybody's got that same car? Because since I've been doing this, it seems like every van I pass on the road is an HVAC. And is it a saturated market? You know what I mean? Is there too many people doing it now?
Okay, I've actually had that like when we started, right? So we
Mm-hmm.
started, there wasn't too many companies out there that did um especially that did hot side and cold side
Mm-hmm.
and AC, everything in one. So we try to be an all-in-one company. I started seeing more and more, but the funny thing is like a lot of them don't last. So
Right.
for a good while, around here, I saw a whole bunch of HVAC companies like pop up. And I feel like it's an up and down thing. Like every now and then we'll see like a ton of new vans out there,
Yeah, like a
you know,
gimmick.
new vehicles freshly wrapped, and they pop out of nowhere. So I mean there could be a thing where, you know, people get ambitious, right? They come out of school and they want to be that business owner like right away.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like a lot of people get into it too deep, too quick.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, that we started real slow. We like I used to be a helper for my dad on the hot side, but we weren't buying new vehicles. Like I've seen that mistake from a lot of guys too, is buying new vehicles, getting it wrapped, you know, getting in debt before they even start. At
Right.
least like too far into debt, because every business, you know, it's an investment, and
Mm-hmm.
you are going to put money into it first, get yourself a loan, all that kind of stuff. But um, and then they hired too many people, and that actually happened to us too, where we hired too many people at first, and it was hard to keep up, you know, with payroll, and stuff like that, and making sure we had enough work and all that. So I don't know. I've noticed that too, but I feel like if you pay attention, it goes up, and
Mm-hmm.
then they'll start to like dwindle down. Because I saw so many companies when we started, and a little bit after that, and then like those companies, I haven't seen them since.
Right.
But like with anything, when you get into the trade, build up your experience, your knowledge, you know, take advantage. I used to do a lot of in-person trainings with like Manitowoc, different manufacturers that would come down here and build up to it. Because like, and we were guilty of that too, like trying to do too much, um, and we couldn't handle it, you know, taking on too much work and stuff like that. So we started off kind of slow. We would buy used vehicles, used
Mm-hmm.
vans. We would not necessarily go for a full wrap. You know, you gotta budget. You got to think of all these things. And as far as like being too saturated, I don't think it'll ever be too saturated. I know that everybody always says that we always need good techs. You know, we're on a shortage and things like that, and it kind of is true. But for the most part, there is, the way I see it, there's work for everybody.
Right.
So even though I live in a small area, a small town, um, there's restaurants being constantly built year after year, new buildings
Mm-hmm.
going up, apartments going up, houses being built. Like everything has an air conditioner, heating,
Right.
everything has, as far as us, because we do kitchen work, there's restaurants, you know, those are never closed down. I feel like there's always going to be work for everybody. And I there's work, uh, it can go around. I don't think it's going to ever be too saturated to where
Right.
you're going to struggle to look for work. Now, you can't be too picky when you start, right?
Right.
So, like us, we went around and looked for work, and we didn't like to turn away work because we never knew if our customers were going to stick around, if we are going to get more work from them. So the only thing is, at the beginning, you might not be able to be picky,
Mm-hmm.
but once you build up your reputation, word of mouth is actually the best advertisement, at least for us and a lot of people that I've talked to. So building up your reputation, uh, getting your vans out there, you know, just doing good work, taking pride in your work goes a long way. And after a while, you know, we were picky. You know, we only do a few national chains now.
Mm-hmm.
We try not to do too many of the smaller markets because, you know, they tend to not pay sometimes, or you have to keep bugging them to pay. So all of that comes with time. And I don't know. To me, there's always going to be work for everybody. I even have the issue of like people ask me for residential work. I don't like to do that. So I have a
Mm-hmm.
buddy that has a company in town also. So I'll give him work. And in turn, he doesn't like to do kitchen work. So then he'll give me work. So we kind of
Yeah.
do it that way. I don't see him as competition. You know, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you can do the stuff that I don't want to do, and I'll do the stuff you don't want to do.
Right. Right. Right.
And I don't know what are y'all talking about now? I guess there's a new topic in the chat now. I'm gonna get to it in a bit. Efren says, what is your 5-year goal?"
5-year goal. I should finish my degree actually in fall of this year. So, in December I'll have, my degree. Then I want to pursue the contractor's licensing in Alabama. And I don't know if we said this earlier or not, but, you have the choice of, you have to have 2 years experience with a contractor or the 2-year degree. But I'm kind of thinking that probably in this line of work, you probably have to start off working for somebody. I mean, does that sound right? I mean, it sounds too ambitious to hit the ground talking about, hey, I've got this new company, start hiring me. I mean,
It's up to
would you recommend working with somebody for a little while, just get your feet wet a little bit?
That'd probably be the best way, but I don't know how it is like over there. I know you said that it's either or, because here it's both. I even though I went to school, I still had to get, I don't know if it was like 3 years experience before I was allowed to even take my test.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to work with somebody. Now it wasn't, they didn't do commercial refrigeration. They just did, AC work. So
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do too much of what I do now with them, right? So I did learn a lot on my own once I got into the field. Now I was being ambitious because my dad started this company, and he didn't want other companies in the restaurants with him, right? So if
Right.
they would call him out to a fryer, and then he's like, "Oh, I don't do coolers or whatever, or freezers," then they're like, "Oh, we got to call somebody else." So
Oh, I gotcha.
he kind of put that on me, which it's fine. It ignited that. It started that for me because I didn't know what I wanted to do,
Mm-hmm.
and I went that route. But um, yeah, I was gonna ask you. So you want to take on that headache like right away?
Well,
Because the other thing is, if you do work for somebody, or if you want to do this business, you can start small. Obviously, friends and family, go work on their
mhm.
HVAC system. Kind of get your name out there, but don't take on too much. Like I said in the
Mhm.
beginning, if you do want to go on your own right away, start small. Start like going house to house, or things like that, and get some experience, because
Right.
the experience is key, because you're gonna make a lot of mistakes when you start, no matter what.
Right. Right.
And Efren, if you're asking me, my 5 years, in 5 years, I want to be like HVAC boss, who's, I don't know if he's still in the chat. He has a fleet of like 20 vans out there in California. One day. Let's see. Blogger, Maryland needs 3 years to eligible for a journeyman, 6 years for masters. Every state is different.
Yeah,
Which
and I
is
could
which
be.
is weird to me.
Yeah, I could be misquoting it because I haven't. When I first started, I was looking it up, but I'm pretty sure it was 2 years experience or 2 years uh, degree, which I could be off a little bit on that, but
Yeah.
um,
It's because every state is different too. So I get that question a lot about the whole getting a license and stuff. I'm like, I know what it is for Texas,
mhm.
right? And I found out that some states don't even require you to be licensed to do work. You can go do work and be on your own and all that without anything really.
Right. Wow.
Yeah, I wish there was a nationwide type of deal, but there's not.
Hmm.
Okay, so we're at 50 minutes. I have questions that I need to pull up, but um, you're currently going to school, right?
Uh-huh.
Are you doing any work besides that?
Yeah, well, actually, I'm doing an internship with them, and obviously, friends and family call me, and I play with that. But
Okay.
I have actually the one of the local guys gave me a bunch of units that I work on here. I've got a couple of carrier package units and stuff like that, and keeps me pretty busy on. I use it as training. You know what I mean?
So they're like older broken down units.
Man, it's kind of a variety of all kind of different stuff. Yeah,
Oh,
but some of them
nice.
are broken down. Some of them, some of the split units. There's they wanted to upgrade or whatever. So there may be a small leak here or there, or they just wanted a newer unit. So it gives me a good opportunity to try a little bit of everything.
So you get to, kind of mess with them and figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And then
I'm gonna
how
be
did
honest with, I'm gonna be
oh, go
honest with
ahead.
you. I like tearing them completely apart and putting them back together.
And I feel like that's what everybody how everybody like kind of gets into it. Like either
Mm-hmm.
you did that as a kid growing up, or you just like started doing it. And yeah, that's a cool part, taking apart things, breaking them all the way down, figuring out all the wiring,
Mm-hmm.
and then, being able to put them back together. It's not, not for everybody. I don't think everybody can do this trade, but if you put your mind to it, take pride in your work, that goes a long way. Now, as far as your social media and your drawings and stuff, how did that come about? How did you start that?
Um, Honestly, just as a study aid, I was working on something for class, and it was we had a wiring test coming up, and really what was bothering me is the unit was one of those units that, this wire was this color, and then it was spliced onto this wire that was another color that went onto another, that kind of stuff like that, and it was driving me nuts why there was no continuity through it. You know what I mean? So I took a bunch of pictures of it and broke it down. And, in my illustration, I had the continuous color through there, although that's not likely, how it's usually going to be. But it helped me see the actual path to, the different things as far as, the G wire, where it's going, where it ends up, all the way through, the Y wire, where it goes, where it ends up, what it attaches to, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so yeah, and funny you bring that up because we had a class, for wiring when I was in school, and they would have us in the class. I guess the kind of test was like to wire up different things,
Right.
and it was like a little trainer board or something like that, and they would give us a whole bunch of wires,
Mm-hmm.
and then we'd have to connect everything together the way it was supposed to go. Um, I can't picture it right now in my head, but the thing is, they would give us, I think it was red and black wires,
Mm-hmm.
and then we could do it, the way we were taught, because we would go over it before, and then obviously that was our test. But there was this one kid who did everything in one color. I don't remember what color it was. Like he wired everything in black or whatever, but he
Mm-hmm.
knew where everything went. And the teacher went up to him and he's like, he kind of stopped us all and he's like, you see this? Does not matter what color of wire you're using, as long as you know where it goes and what it
Mm-hmm.
does, and you can
Mm-hmm.
trace it. And he kind of made an example of that to tell us, that kind of stuff. And as annoyed as I get with it too, some people splice in wires or they don't go by the color code that we're all used to.
Right. Right.
That's why it's always good to double check, triple check, and know where your wires are going to. It's
That's right.
it's it's helpful when it's color coded, but it's not always like that.
Right.
And then you never know like who's worked on it before. So I've run into that a lot.
And I'm using those illustrations too. I was gonna bring this up.
Hmm.
The post you did on the ohming out. Um, I really just think it's so interesting. I think, did you look at the comments on the contactor, that I did that, caused the discussion about what the ohm should be and how the variety of different thoughts that they
Hmm.
were. I mean, and me coming into it as, a novice, don't really know. I'm sitting there thinking, what is the answer? Because there's so many, different, and I like it because everybody's giving advice and everything, and it causes
Yeah.
a good discussion or whatever. But you know what I mean? Those variables. I mean, when you go out there, everything is so different every time.
Yeah, and that's what intrigued me. I had seen it on your TikTok, and that's where a lot of those comments were. And
Mm-hmm.
everybody had a different answer.
Every one of them.
And and that's kind of what I was wondering is like, you kind of mentioned you're new to this trade, and I wasn't sure at first because I felt like you've been doing this for a while with
Mm-hmm.
the diagrams that you've been doing. Um, but yeah, that's what intrigued me, and I had a couple of calls recently that had to deal with the contactors and stuff. And if I go by some of their theories or whatever they were, like if it's under 8 ohms, it's bad or this and that. I was like,
Right.
look, I have some contactors that read around 6 and they work fine.
Right.
And then
And
I deal with like different coil voltages, so everything's going to be different.
mhm. Well, and it's like that one. I pulled that one right out of the box.
Yeah.
10.2. And a lot of people were, not really attacking because everybody was giving their advice, which
Yeah.
I'm appreciative of it. But there was a lot of people saying, 10's bad. And there was one guy, and he actually removed his comment, but and that's one of those things, I learned it at the very beginning. He was talking about, doing the Ohm's law equation. And right then, it made sense to me actually doing that equation to it to figure out, I guess, not what it should be, but what it shouldn't be, because it'll blow
Yeah.
the fuse if it is, the ohms are too high or whatever.
Yeah, it just
Or
depends.
too low.
Every unit's different. And I think I put it in the caption of mine. Like I'm usually looking, like I'm not going to replace the contactor just to replace it. It's going to be like a pitted contact or something like that,
Mhm.
where I can see a problem that we can prevent.
Right.
But like if, as far as a coil, I'm only checking that if we have a short or something weird is happening where I need to look for the problem and I'm not
Mhm.
seeing it. Because like I don't know, like you said, out of the box you were getting 10. Some people get something
Right.
higher, and the 2 poles that I have, the 24-volt contactors, I think I would get 12 or something like that, 12 point
Mhm.
something.
Mhm.
So it varies. There's usually a range, but um, the only way I've explained it is like you want resistance, right? You if it's
Right.
little to no resistance, and then that's your short.
Mhm.
But that's what intrigued me is that post you had on TikTok. It had a lot of so many different answers that I was
Yep.
interested in that one. And these diagrams, so they're for you to better understand what you're going through as far as like the HVAC school and stuff. And then did you just decide, or how did you decide to post them online and kind of go about it that way?
Well, I think that honestly, it was one of those deals where I was seeking feedback. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And like I said, what I've learned is that uh, knowing that you're about to put this on the internet in front of however many followers you got, you kind of got to make sure that it's right. So it really forces you to focus in on it and make sure that what you think is correct. And if not, it's good too, because you're going to learn quick, when they start blasting you on those comments. But
I've
you
been
know
on
what?
the end of
You don't
that too.
forget it.
Yeah.
You don't forget it then.
Yeah. Like I tell people, it posting online, like for me, I kind of started on Instagram, but like more so, I was posting more on YouTube,
Mhm.
and yeah, the comments would come in really quick if you did something wrong,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
it's a good and bad thing, right? I don't really care too much. I don't take it too serious to where it like bothers me,
Mhm.
but it does make me a better tech because I'm consciously thinking about like what I'm doing, if I'm doing it the right way
Mhm.
or as best as I can, right? Because we all make mistakes here and there. We all forget
Yeah. But
things. So
But I'll tell you too, the positive comments and stuff. I mean, they really, really are motivational, and man, I really appreciate that. And especially when you get a comment from somebody like you or Craig Migliaccio or Ty Brannaman. I mean, when you pop that thing up and you see something that they put on there, it really makes it worth it.
yeah, that's the good thing about it is that it's gonna be like 90. I think it's better now, more so. It's like 95% or more positive, right?
Right.
Um, and if there's any issues, it's cool when it's like good criticism, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
Constructive criticism or just something like, hey, you missed
Yeah.
this, or you might want to do it this way, and it benefits you as the person posting it, because then you might learn something from it.
For
I've learned
sure.
plenty
For sure.
plenty of things from commenters because I don't know everything honestly, and if I run into a situation, maybe I got them by, but maybe there was something that I was missing or whatever.
Hmm.
Because I'll post it and I'm like, I don't know if this is the right way to do it, but I got it going or whatever.
Hmm.
Or maybe I went around it and I could have saved myself a lot of time by doing it a different way, and then that comment comes in. I like those
Right.
comments. I like getting
Right.
criticism
Right.
like that. That's helpful.
Right. And I think what it is too is, being kind of like an outsider or whatever, what it is you guys have a really great community. Like you were just saying, 90% of it is positive and encouraging, rather than the constant negativity. Because, like I said, most of the ones that I get that are criticism is usually somebody trying to help, not just trying to, put you down or whatever.
Yeah, every now and then you do get those people that like to troll, but
Yeah, flyby guys.
uh
I mean, what's that all about?
I don't know. They just want to start a argument, and then
Yeah,
you can never win, honestly.
nah.
All right, Brett over here. If you're gonna teach, don't be a dick. So, do you have a different personality when you teach, Brett, or how does that go about? Let's see. Oh, and somebody had mentioned the weather. Was it Jason? Jason, what temp did you get up there? And what city are you in again? But down here we got, it was over 100, but with the humidity and all that, they give you that real temperature, and it was like 115.
Mm.
Hot. Okay, so let me pull up the questions I had on Instagram. I don't know, Nestor, are you in here? Blogger, you already asked about the Crocs, I think. That popped up on my Instagram too. Is there anything hard about overcoming? Wait, what's hard about to overcome with training an individual? But you don't teach,
Yeah,
so
yeah. Um, I don't want to. I don't want anybody to think that I'm professing that I know anything. You know what I mean? I'm learning. You know what I mean? And I'm using this as a tool to help me learn. And if the things that I put up is helping somebody else, it's like a bonus for me. You know what I mean? But I really am not doing how-to videos because I cannot be 100% certain that everything is correct all of the time. But I like to share what I've learned as I do them. I send a lot of, my stuff over to, HVAC Jen and her training things that she's doing. But, obviously she's going to look over and make sure that everything is correct with it. And I use a lot of different study aids to try to ensure that they are correct. But, I'm not really trying to do a how-to thing. I don't know how to explain it.
yeah, I get you. It's something that helps you along the way, and then you're. I mean, it's good that you're posting it because, like, I do think it is helping other people, and we are. Well, I don't know. I'm talking. Maybe I'm speaking for myself, but a lot of us are visual learners,
Hmm.
and that's a lot easier to take it in visually like that with pretty clear drawings.
Hmm.
I know you use a lot of color in yours.
Right.
You're up to date because a lot of stuff that I used to see or I've seen is analogs and this and that. So you got your digital manifolds up there, your meters up to date and everything. So that's kind of cool to see too. Like a modern version of all that stuff.
Hmm.
Jason Johnson, 103. The heat index is ridiculously high. 117.
And there's a lot of people too that help me out, with it as I go. I keep mentioning, but Ty is a big help with just about anything you want to ask that guy. I don't see how he has the energy to do it, and expect nothing in return. It's amazing,
Yeah,
his
and
attitude
he
towards
he
teaching and everything.
travels and he travels a lot and does this, this whole teaching thing, and then he does social media, and he does
Yeah.
like a lot of things.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, like I had sent him a question like last week or whatever, and didn't expect him to get back quick because I know he was out on that trip or whatever. And man, this guy found time to send me a reply, and it's amazing, and I'm thankful for it.
Yeah, I sent like a question to a group of them, like to different guys, and Ty was right, like real quick responded and gave me really in-depth answer, and it was helpful. And he's just somebody who like truly loves this trade and what he
Hmm.
does, and you can tell.
Right.
So then a lot of these animations or drawings you send over to Jen for HVAC chicks, right? And
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
she includes them like in her teaching like curriculum or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, absolutely. She's doing great stuff if you keep track of her. I mean, her whole deal is to help people out who are getting into it, and especially, females trying to get into the trade. And I'm pretty sure she doesn't charge anything either. I mean, it's amazing that somebody would spend, all that time helping others like that. It's one of the things that's like really pulling me towards this community. I mean, you don't see that a lot everywhere.
No, and she's another one that like high energy,
Hmm.
positive
Awesome.
all the time, and she does tech support. She does
Yeah.
these trainings or teachings, for individuals,
Hmm.
and I don't know how she has the energy to do it,
Hmm.
but that's great. And then obviously you're helping her with that. I do think you're, like I said, everybody's visual or does better with visuals that they can see and understand better. So I do think you're helping her a lot with that. So that's great. And she's in the chat right now. Um, yeah, everybody loves Jen.
Hmm.
And she's doing great things. And it's great that you're helping her. And I'm sure she'll let you know if there's anything wrong with them. But
Yeah.
she's always talking about the diagrams that you do for her and how great they are and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
and she's gonna post her schedule tomorrow. I don't know how she finds the time in the day, but she gets all this stuff done.
Yeah, for sure.
And she runs a business with her husband,
Hmm.
who I think Val is in the chat too. So they all are doing amazing things over there.
Yeah, those guys are awesome. I mean, always with positive comments and everything.
Besides, turning my chat upside down, yeah. Do you have any advice to give to young new techs coming into the trade?
I don't know yet because I am not actually there yet.
You're
But
you're going through it right now.
yeah, but the only thing I can tell you is, from my experiences and other things that I've done is you got to give everything 100%. Every job that I've ever taken, including the corrections thing, is, I've given it 100%. I mean, I went through the schooling for that. I mean, I studied Supreme Court case law and stuff like that to, better constitutionally protect the jail and stuff like that. And it's just knowing and studying all those things. And I'm right here with you. I mean, like I said, I'm late to the game, but I'm pretty familiar with learning. And what you have to do is develop a strategy, figure out what your learning style is, and then not just knowing that learning style, but developing a strategy. And what mine really is I'm a visual learner, and I used to be a reader, but I think as time has progressed, I don't read quite as much as I do. But what I do now is, I'm drawing this stuff out, and I found that once I have talked about it, I'm not saying that I'm teaching anything, but if I have taught somebody something, it really locks it into my mind. You know what I mean? If I can have that conversation about like ohming out that contactor and stuff like that, it locks it in, and it's having that conversation because you can read, any of that stuff, but whether you retain and comprehend it is a totally different story. And I found that by having that conversation, it pulls it up and develops it in your mind in a way that can be used.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, you posting this while you're learning and going through it, I think is going to be a good thing for people that come across your page and stuff, you know.
Right.
Because you know, there's a bunch of people that are getting into the trade right now,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, they're online. You know, a lot of people are on TikTok now. A lot of people are on all these platforms, and you know, helpful content goes a long way. You know, versus, you know, I used to think TikTok was really stupid. You know, all the dance, it was a dance
Right.
app before,
Yeah.
and I was
Yeah.
never into it. And then I found that there's content creators on there that I like,
Mm-hmm.
and if I can learn something, you know, in 60 seconds or whatever it is, I'll be honest, you know, I got a short attention span most of the time, so
Yeah.
that's very helpful. And I think, you know, what you're doing is gonna go a long way with a lot of newer techs.
Right.
And what you're doing is great because you're, like you said, you're new, you're learning this stuff as you go and posting about it, um, to help you yourself and whatnot. But there's plenty of guys that it might be, and I've learned this too, right? Like I've been doing this about 16 years,
Mm-hmm.
and something that is like dumb or too simple to me, the next person might not know it. So
Exactly.
I've kind of taken that approach recently where it's like, well, it might be common knowledge to a lot of
Right.
vets, but
Right.
it might help a younger tech. So that's the approach that I'm trying to take now. And that's kind of how I see your content going,
Right.
is like, it's going to help newer guys, younger guys, even though it's just a drawing, it's just wiring. Some people can't grasp that aspect of it,
Mm-hmm.
and they find it hard. So, you know, keep it up. That's great stuff. I love watching it. I'm just like a nerd with this, you know, HVAC stuff. So I love it.
Right.
See Young in the house. What are you talking about? Millennial coming out. These guys in the chat. Let me see. Pat's in the house. Commercial Kitchen Chronicles. We got a full house right now. I was looking for Brett. Brett's like, she doesn't work. Val does. I did get your text, Val. I mean, Brett. But am I supposed to be showing that stuff on the chat? I mean, on the stream? I don't know if that's confidential. Brett also does training, so he's showing me the Houston training facility that they have, which I need to go up there. I mean, I'm not that far away, but you can never stop learning in this trade. So like I said, I took advantage of all the in-person trainings, you know, manufacturers. Brett was telling me that people or companies like Dakin offer free trainings. Like they
Right.
want you to know about their stuff. So everybody needs to take advantage of that, and never stop learning. I don't know what I'm trying to go through the chat, but I don't know what they're talking about now. Okay, so I think that was I think we went through some of the stuff that I got asked for or asked about on Instagram anyway. Let's see. Pros and cons of being an HVAC tech or versus a licensed contractor. An HVAC tech can clock out and a contractor cannot, because most likely you're running a business and you're on call 24/7. Oh, share it. Okay. So I don't know if it's going to come out. Brett has these training boards that he's been working on.
Mm-hmm.
He says he has like R290 stuff, all this new VRF,
Oh, wow.
VFD. I don't know if it's going to focus, but he's working on all these training boards up north, so that people can understand the newer stuff that's coming out.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
The like I said, the VFD, all this supermarket, this HVAC the supermarket refrigeration. Um, I don't know how to do any of that stuff. Hats off to the guys that do that. And hopefully Brett helps out a lot of the new guys. So like, since you're getting into the trade right now, is there any particular part of it that you would prefer to be into? Like, do you like working, or I know you're still doing the school thing, but do you like working on ACs? Do
Yeah,
you like working on refrigeration equipment?
I've not done any refrigeration equipment yet. Kind of looking at the residential tech stuff. But only because that's what I've been training on, been working on. I'm kind of expanding as I go. Like I said, well, actually, like you said, I mean, you've been in it so long that you have all that information retained. See, I'm still really trying to grind into the fundamentals and everything, so I can expand upon that. So really, I'm not sure yet.
Yeah, and there's a whole variety out there. So like I said, my path was kind of like pre-selected. I do kitchen refrigeration,
Hmm.
but that's what I ended up loving. So I love, freezers, the variety, the ice machines, ice cream machines, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
I don't really like residential. I'm not afraid to say that. I'm not going to be in an attic, especially in this humidity and heat down here. But
Yeah, I got you.
uh, everybody has their own thing. There's plenty of guys that prefer residential over commercial. I like being on rooftops. Um, do you think you would like to be around people when you're at work, like the homeowner, or do you think you'll be one of those people that likes to be on the roof by themselves?
I am probably conditioned to handle either. I
Oh, that's right, because of your
Yeah,
previous.
I mean, I've been spit on and
I
everything
can
else. So,
imagine. I can imagine.
and
Yeah.
and in that job, you have to go from being spit on to the front lobby where somebody's grandma's in there trying to use the kiosk, and you've got to turn it off and go straight to being nice, almost
Oh
like
yeah.
service. You know what I mean? So I'm pretty used to either. I think I think more than anything, the customer. I think that employees are kind of the thing that I'm not fantastic with. I've kind of gotten to that point where I kind of want to one day dream of being a one man show, but I know that doesn't actually work out. But
You never know. There's plenty of guys that I know, just from online. Guys that are actually YouTubers and stuff that are a
yeah,
one man show and they get away with it.
yeah,
And it's all about, you know, like they do residential work. A lot of that stuff you can do on your own. If
hmm,
you need to do like a system change out or something like that, that's when he hires like a subcontractor or some
right,
kind of help that they do that and they do it quickly. And you can go about that because like that's the thing, like with us too. Like I said, we used to take on too much work or stuff that we weren't too good at. And then once we kind of learned to subcontract and get, professionals, as far as like duct work, all this other stuff, air balancing that we didn't do, that's when it helped. And there's a way around that if you truly want to work and be a one man show or be a small business. Subcontracting. That's why I said networking is going to go a long way because then you can get somebody that might do something you don't and that
right,
can come in and help you out, and you all like you pay him whatever his rate is, and everything gets billed back to the customer, and you can figure it out that way.
right.
So there's ways around that. We kind of have to figure that out too when we started. All right, so we're at an hour and 20 minutes. I don't want to keep you too long. I'm gonna go through the chat real quick.
Hmm.
If you ever need to dip out, that's fine. Just let me know.
Hey, you calling it, man?
All right, man. I think Blogger was in here. If I worked in the kitchen field, I would require a meal after every call. Now there's two ways. There's a couple of things about that. One, if you are okay, I used to work at a lot of restaurants that were like 24-hour uh, breakfast places. So they would we would take the food, and that's what I get asked a lot is like, do they offer you food when you work at these restaurants and stuff? Because I work in hospitals and restaurants and different types of things in the kitchens. And yeah, they do, especially if you're, friendly with them, you help them out and you get their equipment, up and going in a timely manner. They're going to be super thankful. And I do get offered a lot of food. Now, should you be taking that food all the time? Probably not. It's not good for you. I think that's one thing that we struggle with as HVAC techs is we're always on the move, always on the go. So what do? You either eat if you work in a restaurant, um, and that kind of kitchen equipment, or you pick up fast food. So that's a hard part to get around
Right.
because you can easily, gain a lot of weight or be eating the wrong type of food on a
Hmm.
daily basis. So that's a hard struggle. I'm not gonna lie, and I got really tired of that restaurant's food because I used to eat it every day, and they would be like, "Oh, come on, we'll make you something," and it gets tiring after a while. And then not only that is like then they'll joke with you like, "Hey, can we pay you with a dinner or this and that?" I'm like, "No, no, no. Like, keep your food. I want to get my invoice paid." So there's a few things when you do that. And I actually had some guys that worked for me that would sometimes they would be like, "Hey, toss me a plate or whatever to the cooks," because we make friends with the cooks all the time. We're in the kitchen a lot. We talk to the cooks, we conversate with them, and they're usually the people that you want to ask, when did this stop working? What's wrong with it? This and that. You want to ask the people that are actually using it. So you become friends with a lot of these cooks, and then one of our guys was known for eating every day or taking the food every day, and then they kind of look at you a little bit differently sometimes, especially like the managers that are a little uptight. So
Hmm.
Nesto, that's a fine line there, or Nestor. You don't want to be taking the food all the time. I'm just gonna look through the chat real quick before we sign off. For you guys that don't know, JD Kelly is student of HVAC on all platforms: TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. You should really get into that YouTube short stuff. Post them on there. Man, this chat went crazy. They're talking about meat. What is the whole meat thing? I'm gonna Jennifer, JD is the heart of HVAC chicks. Brett, that's why I have a dad bod. Don't take the food, man. I think this is the new question for the week. Do you eat meat?
I
I
mean,
don't
is
know.
that?
I don't know.
I
I'm,
mean,
I'm trying to scroll. I'm trying to scroll through the chat to see what started that one.
yeah, because who knows where that leads. I'm not a vegetarian. I mean,
All right, man. I need to figure out something with the chat, like so I don't get lost in it. But is there anything you wanna sign off with? Say anything before we get off.
yeah, just guys, check out my stuff there, and don't look at it like I'm somebody trying to push anything off on anybody or be a know-it-all or whatever. I mean, jump in there and help me out a little bit with it. If you see something I'm doing that could be adjusted or edited or whatever, advice, let me know. Throw a comment on there, because it's not only helping me, but it's helping anybody else that's reading through or looking at those posts.
For sure, man. So like I said, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, student of HVAC. Just search that. You'll find JD. We all love, the drawings and stuff. So keep it up.
Appreciate
You're
it.
doing really good on TikTok for sure. And I think your Instagram is gonna take off pretty soon. So
Appreciate it.
if there's no other questions in the chat, Brian here, thanks for doing what you do, JD. If there's no other questions in the chat, we're going to sign off.
All right.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything else. All right, so see you, JD. Have a good night.
Appreciate it. Thanks for everything.
No problem. And I have to do an outro. You can stay on if you want, or you can dip out. So I'm gonna cue the outro music, and I will see you guys.